Hello YouTube, this is Mark Hill and I am the Traveling NP. I've been hearing people tell me a lot lately that they wish they could do this and I wish I could do that. I wish I had the courage to do this or that. I had two nurses recently that I work with in different hospitals say specifically to my face, I wish I was brave enough to travel. Now, the topic that I'm going to discuss today really isn't a locums topic. The topic today is don't be fearful of success. People oftentimes, I think, one of the biggest barriers they have to being successful in any aspect of their business or their life or their relationships is the fear of taking the first step. I have known many people in my life, including people in my family, who their fear of failure, sometimes fear of failure can be a good thing. I've always had this nagging fear of failure, and it was a driving force in my life. When you're of average intelligence and you're an average athlete, and your average skill level, all you've really got going for you in the business world and in any other aspect of your life is your ability to control your degree of effort. And as I grew older and began to realize that the secret to success in almost anything is the amount of effort and the time that you put into it. And so really fearing failure, if you let it, can rule what you do and can ruin your prospects. A nurse today told me, she said, I just wish I had the courage to travel. I'd have to go travel all over the United States. She knows what I do as a locums provider, traveling all over, working different hospitals, and she said, I wish I could do that. And I asked her why. She said, I'm just scared to take that first step. And I hear that all of the time. People are scared to take the first step. They're scared to I've got another friend of mine who's a heating and air technician. And he's got a job. He makes about $15, $20 an hour working for a heating and air plumbing place. But he'd like to be his own boss. But he's scared to take that first step. He's scared to step out on his own. He's scared to become his own boss. And that's going to be a hindrance to these people in their success. You've got to take that first step. You've got to figure out in your mind what it is that I want out of life. And at some point, you just got to step off that cliff and go. Now, you may never get past your fear. You may be totally satisfied with what you're doing. You may be totally satisfied in your Monday through Friday job. You may make the money that you want to make. If you do, that's fine. But if you are lacking fulfillment in your job, which there's a statistic I heard on the radio the other day, it said that 70% of all employed people hate their jobs. That means only about 30% of the people who are working today actually like their jobs. Job fulfillment is a very important thing in a person's life. Most people, if you're like me, and I think most people are, you have to feel like you're accomplishing something, like you're moving in a positive direction, like you're progressing. And that's the key really to a happy life is progression. I'll give you just an example. I've been a nurse. I started in the nursing field in 1990. I worked my way as an emergency room technician and got into nursing school, worked my way through nursing school, and worked as a staff nurse for 20 years in the hospital. And after about 5 years of that, I realized that I was one of the 70% of people who hated their job. I absolutely despised what I did, hated every second of it. And so I started asking myself, what is it that I could do to better my situation? And so after many years and a divorce and a lot of financial catastrophes and a bout with colon cancer, I began to say to myself, I'm in my early to mid 40s now, and I'm hating what I'm doing. I'm not making really any money to speak of. What do I have to do to be successful? Well, luckily for me, or maybe not luckily, maybe it was a good choice. I married a good woman who had a good job and was very supportive of career changes and things of that nature. And we decided as a couple and as a family for me to go back to nurse practitioner school. And even in the very beginning of our plans, we had long-term plans that we had discussed about where we wanted to be financially in a few years. And so I went back to nurse practitioner school. I quit my job so I could go full-time and finish up as fast as possible, and charged up a lot of student loans and a lot of credit cards and got way behind on bills, but finally got through. Started making good money and got some experience. And within about 3 or 4 years, I decided that if I really wanted to make good money and be my own boss, I just needed to be my own boss. So I went locums, and that's primarily what I do now. Now I've transformed that into also a telemed, private contracting telemed position, where I do a lot of telemedicine work as well. But essentially what I did is I fired my bosses, and I became my own boss, and I started calling my own shots. Now, I will go ahead and tell you that as a boss, I am a ruthless taskmaster. I demand way more of myself than I would probably demand of anyone else. And I am a slave driver. So the success that I have found in a relatively short period of time, I've been a nurse practitioner for almost 5 years now, and 2 years of that I've been working locums, and for the last year I've really gotten back into the telemedicine aspect of it. And in that short period of time, the last 2 years, I have really found a lot of success in my niche. I have focused on telemedicine, and I've focused on locums, and I have learned how to exploit my profession and my training in order to make a really good living as a private contractor and a business owner, with the beauty of me being the only employee. Now, of course, my wife works with me, and she's kind of my business manager and my secretary. But I can remember in the beginning of taking that first step, it was scary. I had to ask myself, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to give up the security of a full-time, day in, day out, week in, week out job? And it was a big stressor on me. But finally I came to the conclusion, after sitting down and really asking myself and my wife what it is we wanted, I came to the conclusion that I was never going to be where I wanted to be financially and professionally if I just didn't take that plunge. So I just stepped off the cliff, and I determined in my own mind and my heart, and with the help of my wife, that I just was not going to fail. Failure was not an option. So I just plugged at it, hammered at it, pounded at it, and I still am to some degree. Now I'm coming to the point where in the next 6 months or so, I'm not going to have to work as hard as I have been. I've paid off a lot of student loans, paid off a house, bought another house. We'll have it paid off in about 6 or 8 months. Paid off all my credit cards. Worked a lot of hours. Put in a lot of time doing this. but I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do because I'm my own boss. I call my own shots. I make my own money, and I don't rely on somebody else to provide for me. But I had to take the plunge, and I had to come to terms with my fear of failing. Fear of failing is a killer. And you've got to get past that if you're going to be successful in business and life and relationships. Many people fail in relationships because they feel fear of failure. They fear rejection. Business success, financial success, personal success means confronting your fears and stepping out and do what you have to do to be successful. Taking the bull by the horns and working hard. And the reality is there is no secret recipe for success. It just boils down to hard work and perseverance. Hard work and perseverance will get you a long ways with very little talent. I promise you. I'm a prime example of that. Average talent, average knowledge, average IQ, and I am achieving, in the process of achieving, most of my goals financially and professionally. Now I've got a long ways to go. Still working at it. Fear. Got to get past your fear. Work towards overcoming, confronting your fears, and then at some point you got to step off and you got to do your own thing. And guess what? You may fail to some degree, but you get back up and you keep rolling. So the word of the day is: don't be fearful. Don't be afraid of your success. Confront your fears. Work towards your success. And if you work hard enough and you work long enough, you will be successful. And also be patient. You know, you're not going to make $1 million overnight. You're not going to be everything you want to be overnight. It's going to take several years. I've been working on what I'm working on now for the last 5 years. And honestly, I'm probably halfway to where I want to be. I'm on about a 5-year plan. And 5 years from now, I would like to be in a position when I'm 57 years old to where I don't have to work anymore if I don't want to. Now, I'm well on my way. But I've got 5 more years of working pretty hard to put myself in a very successful financial position. So, don't fear success. Step off the cliff. Do what you have to do to be successful. My word for the day. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Mark Hill, the Traveling NP. Till I see you next time.